In tribute today in honor of a murdered NC Central grad student. Family and friends gathered in Charlotte to remember Denita Smith. As they mourn, police are still working to find out why the suspect in the case wanted her dead.
911, where's your emergency? I just walked out my apartment. She's at the bottom of the stairs, head busted up and blood everywhere. Is she conscious? Hey, baby girl. Hello?
On January 4, 2007, a typical morning in Durham, North Carolina, would soon be overshadowed by a shocking event that would profoundly affect the community and a grieving family. Denita Smith, a vibrant 25-year-old North Carolina Central University graduate student, was known for her intelligence and ambition. With dreams of making a difference in the world, she was dedicated to her studies and deeply invested in her future. Friends and family described her as warm-hearted and driven, with everything to live for.
She was a happy person. Everybody loved her. She loved everybody.
She's like, I'm always here and I always have your back and I always will. No matter what else happens or who's there or not there, I'm going to be there for you.
Yet beneath this promising exterior lay a complex web of relationships that would soon unravel, with devastating consequences. As Denita prepared for her day, little did she know that lurking just outside her door was a storm of emotions fueled by jealousy, an emotion so potent it could ignite the most unfathomable actions. Her fiancé, Jermaine Stroud, had been entangled in a secret affair with Shannon Crawley, a local 911 dispatcher. Their relationship had become a source of tension and conflict, ultimately leading to Denita's tragic fate. At approximately 10 a.m., a student named Corey Smith was en route to class when he made a horrifying discovery. As he walked past a staircase leading down to the parking lot, he noticed something that made his heart race. There lay Denita Smith, her body sprawled unnaturally at the bottom of the steps. Her belongings were scattered around her, a purse tipped over with its contents spilling out like a cruel reminder of her interrupted life. Corey's instincts kicked in. He rushed to check for signs of life, but was overwhelmed with dread. Denita lay motionless, and it was clear that something terrible had occurred. Panicking, he dialed 911, his voice trembling as he reported what he had found.
911, where's your emergency? I just walked out my apartment. She's at the bottom of the stairs, head busted up and blood everywhere. Is she conscious? Hey, baby girl. Hello?
Meanwhile, earlier that morning, Michael Hedgepeth, a maintenance worker for the complex, had heard a gunshot ring out around 8:10 a.m. He had been performing routine checks when the sharp sound pierced the morning air. Rushing toward the source of the noise, he caught a glimpse of a woman fleeing from the vicinity. She appeared distressed and terrified, her hands covering her mouth as she hastily entered a burgundy SUV before speeding away.
She was very distraught, extremely upset, said she'd heard the gunfire and was trying to make sense out of what happened.
What had transpired in those early hours? Who was this woman who had fled? And what could have driven someone to take such drastic action? These questions loomed heavily as emergency services arrived in response to Corey's frantic call. As police and EMTs arrived at Campus Crossing's apartments, they were met with a scene that would haunt them for years. Upon examining Denita's body, they confirmed their worst fears. She had suffered a gunshot wound to her head. The forensic evidence suggested this was no random act. It was a calculated assault that had extinguished a promising life far too soon. Law enforcement began cordoning off the area and gathering evidence. Eyewitness accounts were collected as they sought to piece together what had happened in those critical moments leading up to Denita's fall. Michael Hedgepeth recounted hearing the shot and seeing a woman fleeing. A description that would soon lead investigators to focus on one primary suspect, Shannon Crawley. As detectives investigated Denita's life and relationships, they uncovered troubling details about her fiancé, Jermaine Stroud. He had been engaged to Denita for several months, but also had an affair with Shannon Crawley, a local 911 dispatcher who worked in Greensboro. As investigators pieced together timelines and relationships, it became evident that jealousy and betrayal were at play. Jermier claimed that his affair with Shannon had ended over a year before Denita's death. However, Shannon's behavior suggested otherwise. Witnesses reported seeing her near Jermier's home and church long after their alleged breakup. This affair lasted several months before Jermier ended it in late 2005, claiming he wanted to focus on his relationship with Denita. Despite the breakup, Shannon struggled to let go. She knew Denita's existence, but believed she could reclaim Jermier's affection. The timeline of Jermier's affair with Shannon is crucial to understanding the events leading up to Denita's tragic fate. While Jermier insisted that he had ended things with Shannon over a year before Denita's death, evidence suggested otherwise. Friends of both women reported seeing Shannon around Jermier long after their supposed breakup, raising suspicions about her intentions and mental state. Shannon's obsession became increasingly apparent as she attempted to insert herself back into Jermier's life. Eyewitnesses noted her erratic behavior. She would often call him incessantly and even show up unannounced at his home or workplace. This relentless pursuit created an environment ripe for conflict, mainly as Denita remained blissfully unaware of the turmoil behind her back. If she had suspected even a fraction of what was happening, those close to her believed she would have ended the relationship immediately. Instead, she continued planning her future with Jermier, unaware jealousy was rotting in the shadows. Reports indicated that Shannon felt betrayed and humiliated after learning about Denita's engagement to Jermier. The emotional turmoil manifested into an obsession that spiraled out of control. Shannon's actions suggested a premeditated plan. She had purchased a firearm shortly before Denita's death, a .38 caliber revolver that would later be linked to the crime scene through forensic evidence. Witnesses recounted instances where Shannon expressed inadequacy and anger toward Denita, whom she viewed as having everything she desired, a stable relationship and a promising future. This envy transformed into an overwhelming desire to eliminate what she perceived as competition. The first significant breakthrough came when police examined Shannon Crawley's burgundy SUV, which matched the description given by witnesses who had seen a woman fleeing the scene shortly after the gunshot was heard. Forensic tests revealed gunshot residue on the steering wheel, a significant finding that suggested Shannon had been near a firearm shortly before Denita was discovered. This evidence raised immediate suspicions about her involvement in the incident. Further analysis of Shannon's phone records revealed alarming details. Investigators discovered that her phone had pinged off cell towers near campus crossings, both on the night before and during the morning of Denita's death. In contrast, Jermier Stroud's phone remained firmly in Greensboro, miles from the crime scene. This stark difference in their locations during critical times added weight to the theory that Shannon was not only present, but actively involved in Denita's tragic fate. Surveillance footage from nearby cameras further corroborated these findings. Detectives reviewed hours of video, seeking any signs of Shannon's movements leading up to and following Denita's death. They found footage showing Shannon's vehicle near campus crossings around the time of the incident, reinforcing their suspicions about her role in this unfolding drama. With each piece of evidence collected, investigators began to form a clearer picture of what had happened that morning. The combination of gunshot residue, cell phone data, and surveillance footage painted a compelling narrative, pointing toward Shannon as a key figure in this tragedy. When police brought Shannon Crawley in for questioning, she presented herself as an innocent party caught in a web of circumstances beyond her control. She claimed she had never met Denita and insisted she was at home with her children during the time of the shooting. However, her alibi began to unravel as detectives pressed her for details. Shannon maintained that she did not own a firearm, and expressed disbelief at the suggestion that gunshot residue had been found in her vehicle. She shifted her narrative when confronted with forensic evidence linking her to the crime scene. Under pressure, she admitted to purchasing a .38 caliber revolver months prior, but claimed she had disposed of it shortly after buying it, an assertion that raised further doubts among investigators. As detectives continued their questioning, they noted inconsistencies in Shannon's statements. For instance, while she claimed to be unaware of Denita's existence, evidence showed that she had been following Jeremiah Stroud closely, even showing up at his church and local events where Denita was present. This obsessive behavior indicated a level of awareness about Denita contradicting her claims. To deflect blame from herself, Shannon began making accusations against Jeremiah Stroud. She suggested that he was somehow involved in Denita's death and portrayed herself as a victim of his manipulation and control. However, Jeremiah had a solid alibi for his whereabouts on the morning of January 4th. He was miles away in Greensboro, while Shannon's phone records placed her near campus crossings. The detectives were not swayed by Shannon's attempts to shift responsibility. They recognized her tactics as desperate measures from someone trying to escape accountability for their actions. With mounting evidence against her and no credible defense for her whereabouts or actions that day, it became increasingly clear that Shannon Crawley was central to this tragic story. What would happen next as investigators prepared for trial? The trial of Shannon Crawley for the murder of Denita Smith began with palpable tension in the courtroom. Family members from both sides filled the benches, their expressions mixing hope, grief, and anger. As the proceedings unfolded, the prosecution laid out a compelling narrative that connected Shannon to the tragic events of January 4, 2007. The prosecution presented forensic evidence that linked Shannon directly to the crime scene. Dr. Cynthia Gardner, a forensic pathologist, testified about Denita's injuries, confirming that she had been shot in the head from a distance. The bullet recovered during the autopsy was identified as being consistent with a Decker E caliber, specifically a Taurus model that Shannon had purchased months before the incident. Additionally, Agent Scott Jones from the State Bureau of Investigation provided crucial evidence regarding gunshot residue found on the steering wheel of Shannon's SUV. This evidence suggested that she had been close to a firearm shortly before Denita's death. The prosecution also highlighted Shannon's phone records, which showed her presence near Campus Crossings apartments around the time of the shooting. This information was corroborated by surveillance footage that captured her vehicle near the scene. Witnesses were brought forward to discuss Shannon's obsessive behavior toward Jeremiah Stroud and her jealousy of Denita. Friends testified about how Shannon's emotional state had deteriorated after Jeremiah's engagement with Denita became public knowledge. The courtroom was tense as jurors listened intently to each piece of evidence. Shannon's defense team mounted a vigorous effort to counter the prosecution's claims. They argued that there was insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Shannon was responsible for Denita's death. The defense attempted to establish an alibi for Shannon, claiming she was not present at Campus Crossings when Denita was shot. To support their case, they called upon family members and friends who testified about Shannon's character and emotional struggles following her breakup. They painted her as a woman overwhelmed by jealousy but incapable of committing such an act. In an unexpected turn during her testimony, Shannon claimed that Jeremiah had driven her to Durham on the morning of the murder and left her alone in the SUV while he confronted Denita. She alleged that she had heard an argument followed by a gunshot, but insisted she did not witness any violence herself. The defense team sought to discredit Jeremiah by suggesting he had motive and opportunity, arguing that he could have been involved in Denita's death. They pointed to his complex relationship with both women and questioned his credibility as a police officer who might have manipulated events surrounding the case. Shannon's family stood firmly by her side throughout the trial, expressing their belief in her innocence. They maintained that she was being unfairly targeted due to her past relationship with Jermier, and insisted that she could not have committed such a violent act. After several days of testimony and evidence presentation, jurors began deliberating on February 22, 2010. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense as everyone awaited their decision. They weighed the evidence against Shannon, considering every detail presented during the trial. Finally, when the jury returned with their verdict, guilty of first-degree murder, the courtroom erupted with mixed emotions. It was a bittersweet relief for Denita's family. Justice had been served for their beloved daughter and sister. They expressed gratitude for the outcome, but lamented the loss they would carry forever. Shannon showed little reaction as she heard the verdict read aloud. Her demeanor remained stoic despite the gravity of what it meant for her future. When allowed to speak before sentencing, she chose silence, which left many wondering about her true feelings regarding her actions. Immediately following the verdict, Judge Ronald Stevens sentenced Shannon Crawley to life in prison without parole. He emphasized how jealousy and unresolved emotions had led to this tragic outcome, and warned against allowing such feelings to fester unchecked. The aftermath of Denita Smith's murder left an indelible mark on her family, who were forced to confront the reality of their loss in the most public of settings. The impact of Denita's death extended beyond her immediate family. It rippled through friends, classmates, and the community at North Carolina Central University. Denita was not just a student, but was a vibrant part of many lives. Her absence created a space filled with sorrow and unanswered questions.
I hope you rock hell, because you took something from me. You had no right to do that. She didn't do anything. You shouldn't even know you.
Denita's family struggled to navigate life without her. They spoke about the holidays that would never be the same, the milestones she would miss, and the dreams she had yet to fulfill. Friends shared stories about Denita's kindness and determination, emphasizing how her light had been extinguished too soon. The tragic story of Denita Smith serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers that can arise in toxic relationships. Denita's life was cut short due to jealousy and unresolved emotions, highlighting the importance of recognizing when a relationship becomes unhealthy. Jealousy can manifest in various forms, sometimes as possessiveness or controlling behavior. In Denita's case, Shannon Crawley's jealousy transformed into an obsession that ultimately led to violence. This incident underscores the importance of recognizing the warning signs associated with jealousy and its potential to escalate into more severe actions. If you or someone you know is in a similar situation, don't hesitate to ask for help. Thank you for watching this story. If you found it meaningful, please like and subscribe for more content that raises awareness about important issues. Your support helps us continue sharing these vital messages.